I call this regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the Joshua Basin Water District to order. And today is Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, and the time is 5 p.m. Everyone, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. General Manager Johnson, please conduct the roll call and confirm a quorum. President Whittle, I'm here. Director Flowin.
I didn't hear that.
Director Flowin.
Present. Thank you.
Director Vick.
Here.
Director Charles
Here.
VP Short.
Here.
So we have a quorum, and I'm glad to see our other board members here with us, as they were not here at our last meeting. It's nice to have you guys back and have a full quorum. Moving on to the agenda. Are there any changes requested to the agenda by any board member? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Make the motion.
Second,
Second.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. No one's opposed. Okay, so we will now open public comment. We have this time set aside on the meeting agenda for public comment on any district-related matter, whether appearing on the agenda or not. We welcome public comment. Please understand that due to the Brown Act, we cannot, or the board is prohibited from taking action on items not listed on the agenda. If appropriate, the matter may be considered for a future agenda. Also, comments should be limited to matters within the jurisdiction of the Water District. The board cannot respond to items outside its authority. At the chair's discretion, I may ask that your comments on a particular item on the agenda be deferred until that item is heard later in our meeting. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Please join us. Step up.
Good evening. My name is Dennis. I apologize for reading my comments that'll keep me from drifting. I've lived in Joshua Tree since 1979, so I know a little of the history. I'd like to talk about a positive experience I had with district personnel. My water meter box was being flooded and stuffed to the hilt with mud because the idiots at county allowed a new hill to be created as part of new construction right next to my property, changing the drainage onto my lot. I explained to office staff that I needed someone to come out to my property so they could properly appreciate the problem. To my great surprise, Gary showed up about 15 minutes later. Gary was very professional. He listened to my story with patience, even though I'm sure he already knew what could and couldn't be done. He described what he was going to do and immediately set to work. The problem isn't solved, but I do have a new water meter box, and I believe he did all that he could to help me. Gary did a great job, and the situation is better. Gary's attitude and work ethic are a credit to the Joshua Basin Water District, and I thought someone should know. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. I don't believe there's any public comment. So we'll now move to agenda item 5, which is the consent calendar. Consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial, to be acted upon the board at one time without discussion. If a board member would like an item to be handled separately, it will be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar containing the draft minutes from April 1st, 2026 and the second fiscal quarter report ending 12/31/25 financial report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, the motion carries. On to our action calendar. Item 7A is a presentation of the February 2026 check register with the recommended action to approve the check register. Director of Finance, welcome back, Ann Roman. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. Good evening. We do have the February 2026 check register for review. This register totals $739,231.28. Along with a payroll processing register of $2,276.65, utility refunds of $1,205.27, representatives of $4,800. All right, I will start on page 34. And at the top, near the top, we have Amazon Capital Services. 2 invoices there, and some of the things that were purchased include a clamp multimeter, clipboards, iPad cases, 2 LED light bars, toner, a computer cart, uniforms, office cubicles for shop, and 16 first aid kits. We also have near the bottom or at the bottom of this page, CalPERS. And there were 3 invoices because there were 3 payrolls in January. So one of the payments is carrying over from January. We normally just have 2 in a month. Questions on page 34? Comments?
Oh, Director Dalsberg. Director Pitt, please.
16 first aid kits, those were the vehicles?
Or is that, yes, thank you.
I'm just curious.
Director Dalsberg.
I just wondered, you skipped the top line, ACWA, JPIA health benefit. I wondered if that's normal amount and it's for how much, or is it for the?
It's monthly. That is an average amount. Some portion of that, I don't have the split, but a lot of that is employee funded. So
Okay.
it is.
Just curious. I didn't remember an amount.
Yes, yeah, you would see that every month unless for some reason there was a delay in billing, but they are monthly bills.
Okay.
Right. Page 35. About a third of the way down, we have core and main with some inventory and mainline and leak repair supplies, including the E21 reservoir rehab supplies inventory, including 3 gate valves, 6 flange bolt sets, and 2 6-inch couplings and adapters. We have near the middle desert hose and supply, 28 4-inch hoses and 4 clamps. We have also DocuSign right below the middle, and that is our annual e-signature software for our water applications. And we have Employment Development Department about a third of the way from the bottom. That is our self-funded unemployment insurance. And Hale Electric near the bottom with some work they did, repaired and replaced a generator cap cord for generator 2. Any questions or comments on page 35? All right, at the top of page 36, we start with Home Depot, including some parts that were purchased for the hydropneumatic station and red spray paint for valve maintenance. We have McFall's meters about a third of the way down, and that was for Flowcom digital register conversion kit for the iBooster. In the middle of the page, we have 2 invoices from Mojave Water Agency totaling 693 acre feet of recharge water at $629 per acre foot. We also have, let's see, what else? Napa, municipal diving I wanted to mention. So they did some various work, including tank repairs at C3. And Napa Auto near the bottom, including purchases such as batteries, a 36-inch gun and wand for the vacuum, a power steering reservoir, and an oil filter. Questions on page 36?
Director Fleming?
The Mojave Water Agency water payments. How come there's 2 of them and they seem to be dated the same?
It's probably a catch up. I think that they're not the same. They're 2 different amounts, but I think that we missed one.
They didn't send us an
Yeah.
invoice and we had to follow up because
Yeah.
the subsequent invoice showed an outstanding balance.
Oh,
And when
So
we
we're missing one.
inquired about it, they recognized that they didn't send it to us. So that's why there's 2.
Yeah,
Just curiosity.
so we're just catching up there.
Thank you.
All right, Director Vic?
Yes, on the Mojave Water Agency, what is it? AWOC calendars, what are those?
Those are the beautiful glossy water-wise calendars. Yeah, Kathleen knows all that.
That's for water awareness and conservation. It is one of our KPR tools for helping people learn about gardening up here and not wasting water. And every year we get the new calendar and we tell people to hang on to it if you never get another one, because the calendar isn't important. It's all the information on every page about watering schedules, everything. And so we use it as a teaching tool. And we use it year round, and you will get one in your bag when you go on the district tour. I thought you had them at Christmas time, but you'll get.
We did. You gave it to us.
That is the Alliance for Water Awareness and Conservation. We are a member, and it's through Mojave.
And it's about 1,000 of them, or?
Well, with the district tours, let's see. I know we had ordered 3 cases this year.
350.
We ordered 3 cases. Usually I get 2, but with the district tours, I anticipated using them for that.
Okay, thank you.
And on page 37, we have right above the middle of the page, RDO Equipment Company. That was service filters and a window for backhoe E5410. And we have at the very bottom, of course, on this page, we have Southern California Edison. And so those are routine invoices, one for the office and the shop, and the other for power for pumping, a large one. And at the very bottom, Southwest Networks, we have included there some new desktops for field staff. Desktops and monitors for field staff. Aside from that, questions? Page 37. Page 30. Near the top, Tyler Technologies, that's our annual subscription for our financial software. And we just had a credit there that we applied. They tried to prorate the first invoice for 3 months. And so they reversed that and billed us for the whole year, which is what they normally do. We also have Ultimate Motors on this page for the installation of light bars for 2 vehicles. And then right near the middle of the page, US Bank Corporate, those are our credit cards. I did not have a bill for this month. David's credit card bill included the monthly Adobe subscriptions, universal remotes, uniforms, supplies for hanging a TV in the admin building, 2 clean truck tests, and vehicle maintenance parts. And Sarah's credit card included a background check for new recruitment, a Zoom webinar subscription, Grammarly, annual subscription, a deposit for the new equipment trailer, airfare for the legislative trip to Sacramento for General Manager Johnson, President Doolittle, and Director Fick, and name plaques and business cards for the directors. And then we have right at the middle of the page, USA Blue Book, and that included yellow spray paint, marking whiskers, 1-inch meter gaskets, Flowmatic silent check valve for the D11 booster. Any questions on page 38 or comments?
I have a question. President Doolittle speaking. The light bars, I could just see somebody asking me in the public why these trucks, and when I hear light bars, I assume it's something really fancy and cool looking, but I'm sure it's something for safety. Could you just explain?
Yeah, all of our trucks have been equipped with light bars so that when they're parked, that they can be seen from a 360 view. These have some lights on the front and the back, but it is not safe for our staff to be out there if other cars can't see that they're parked. And it also identifies them as a district vehicle, so they're being used for district purposes.
Thank you. Director Flowen?
Yeah, we've bumped up slightly in the number or the amounts of the checks this month, 739,000. However, that isn't anywhere near as much as it could be. Sometimes it does go over 1 million occasionally.
Yes.
And also on an earlier page, the electric bill, which is for pumping was 42,000, and that's up slightly, but that also is in line with the increase in consumption
Right.
too. So
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just a mention.
Director Fick?
Yes, in here, HGMC weed abatement, $8,000. How many weeds do they have? What is this about?
You say there's, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
I didn't see the transactions.
Yes, the whole project area over there where the treatment facility is, it's pretty large and it has to be weeded periodically and those are passed through costs back to the hospital. But we have all of the treatment facility outsourced to water quality specialists and they are water quality specialists, and then they outsource the weed abatement to another company.
It sounds like they had a friend or somebody. It's $8,000.
It was a lot of weeds, because I questioned it myself, but it was a lot of weeds, the whole area was,
Yeah, they have a huge embankment
yes,
built up through the parking lot.
Yeah.
exactly. It's a fire hazard too.
Yeah, it's fire hazard. Not that I want us to get into any kind of discussion, but I would like to tell you that just a regular lot in Joshua Tree, people are getting quoted $4,000 for weeding this year.
It was, and we had that rain this year that seemed like every property is sprouting with all these weeds, so it's just part of maintenance of the facility.
That's passed on to HDM.
That's fine.
So as Director Cohen mentioned, $739,231.28 was the total of the regular check register. And that is a bit higher than we've been running, but we did have the two Mojave Water Agency recharge increases that drove that up. So on page 40, we have the payroll processing check register. And this includes $1,067.08 of payroll processing costs, $75 of FSA processing costs, and the remainder, which is $1,134.57, is comprised of employee-funded FSA flexible spending account costs. So those are funds that are withheld from the employee's paycheck through payroll, and then the employee can submit for reimbursement, and then we pay those. But they are initially withheld from the employee's paycheck. So that's the $1,134. Total is $2,276.65. Questions on page 40? Page 42, and we have the utility fund register. This is our routine deposit refunds for customers that have put a deposit on account with us when they established their account, or perhaps if they were cut off for non-payment, they would have had to supply another deposit to reestablish their service. And so this is just the refund after their final bill. Questions on page 42? And page 43 through 46, we have the director stipends. This totals $4,800 and includes, looks like it includes a conference, CSDA, and some various meetings, district meetings, ASPCST dinner, various items on this register. Questions on those pages? Director Dalsberg?
It's not a question, just a statement. I like seeing round numbers on this page.
Oh, yeah.
Number 173.63.
Yeah.
That concludes the February check register.
So, is there any more comment from anybody on the board regarding the check register? Right, and I don't believe we have any public comment. So may I hear a motion to approve the February 2026 check register?
Make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
General Manager Johnson, a roll call vote, please.
President Doolittle?
Yes.
Director Flynn?
Yes.
Director Fick?
Yes.
Director Johnsberg?
Yes.
VP Short?
Yes.
So with 100% in favor, the motion carries. Next up on the action calendar is item 7B, which is a legislative advocacy report for the first quarter of 2026. The recommended action for the board is to receive and file the attached quarterly legislative advocacy report. General Manager Sarah Johnson, please proceed with the presentation and introductions.
Thank you.
Oh, and one thing, would you please hold your questions until the end, everyone?
Thank you. So tonight we have our quarterly report. Me, Jasmine. How did I say that right? I hope I got the last name right.
Yeah, you did good.
Thank you. Who is our project manager at Rojas. And Rojas has been a fantastic partner to us, helping navigate us through this very complicated legislative labyrinth. And so Jasmine's going to update you on some of the work that we've been doing. Let's take it from here, Jasmine.
Hi, let me go ahead and share my presentation. Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
The webinar platform's a little bit of a labyrinth. It's as well. Take your time.
Thank you. And I have multiple screens open, so forgive me. Okay, I believe I have the correct one. Okay. All right. Hi, good evening, President Doolittle and members of the board. Thank you for the opportunity to present our first quarter advocacy update. We're going to cover our work that we've done from January to March. A few of you were there, so this would be a little bit of a recap and along with some key state and federal updates and what's ahead. So just a quick update on the federal level. So Congress during this time entered the fiscal year 2027 appropriation cycle for this quarter. So we utilize the process and which remains one of the primary ways to secure funding on the federal level for projects for the district. In the first quarter, we focus on preparing and submitting the request. Now that process has shifted, and this is important. We moved from submitting the applications to making sure the project stays competitive as it moves through the Congress. Working with the staff, which is amazing, and really shifting in real time on the project was key, and I believe to the success that we've had so far. What's to come in the early April? We got the final House submission and posting, and hopefully towards the end of the month, if not in May, we'll get the Senate selection. Through the spring and summer, we will be seeing the projects go through committee and then to each of the House and then on the Senate side. Around June, July, we'll start seeing more of committees, and hopefully by then they'll be ready to sign off and have everything finalized by the end of July. Hasn't been like that for the last few years, but that is typically how it's been prior. For the state, at the state level, the governor released the proposed budget in January. This is a more cautious budget this year, still being in a deficit, which means that funding is more competitive. For the district, that means projects need to be clear and precise on what we're asking for and have a dollar amount that really represents on what we can be asking on the state level. That is why our early advocacy this quarter was especially important while we were positioning this district ahead of the funding decisions. On the state level, other than the budget request, we're looking at Prop 4 programs opening up in the spring. We've already received some information on the water side that they're going to just start having public comments or webinars to just start preparing on that process, which we'll be attending and also updating the district and inviting the district when they can to attend district staff. In May, the governor will have the May revise released, and then in June, all the bills must be passed. So the activities for Joshua. January was really about setting the foundation. We shared the 2026 legislative outlook and what the state budget means for the district. So we began the outreach on the federal, state, and local offices to start advocacy on the district's priorities. And importantly, we provided tools and resources so the district is ready to respond quickly to opportunities. And maybe, talking about what's happening and how quick really things change. I think the staff really took that in. And when in real time it happened, they were really responsive. So having the staff that you have really made our job run smoothly as this process was going at the same time. In February was our biggest federal engagement month, which included a DC trip. We met with Congressman Obernolte and also the staff from the Senate offices. This was also a key relationship building opportunity, which is crucial for the long-term funding success. Now, at the same time, the portals were opening for the CPF and CDS application process. Both were opening around mid-February, and they were due by March. The due dates were March 13th and March 16th. So again, having the district staff while traveling at the same time and having district staff back at the district working together and getting all the information that was needed to support and submit was very key to having a successful submission. And having all that on the staff and traveling it is a lot of work. So I really applaud the district and the staff too that made it very successful on both ends. The logistics of it all, it can be scary, especially being the first time submitting, but they really rose to the occasion. In March, we shifted more towards state advocacy and follow-up. We participated in the Sacramento meetings and continued engagement in legislative offices. A major highlight here was securing letters of support for the Chromium 6 project. We got quite a few letters of support on multiple locations, what is state level and on the local level, and drafting those support letters, which made it easy for the offices to accept and submit on our behalf. We also submitted the federal funding applications, like I mentioned, which are a key milestone for the quarter. Additionally, we began advancing discussions around potential state budget requests. Assemblymember Wallace, which that conversation is continuing to this day, and we don't have all the answers for that, but we'll definitely have it by the next quarter. So what is next for the federal? Looking ahead, we're now in the federal reviews phase, especially on the House side, since they've already selected. Our focus is monitoring the project as it moves through the appropriation process. We'll be submitting written testimony to continue collaborations with Congressman Obernolte's office. Sarah will be providing a draft letter for you tonight to review and approve so that we can submit this. This is our last ditch effort to, after submitting and after being selected, that will be on the record on the committee. This phase is slower, and it's where continued engagement is really important. And while we're in a strong position in positioning the project. Sorry, in positioning the funding project, it's important to note that the funding is not secured until the appropriation process is finalized, which is typically not until December. But it's a huge feat that, having it be your first time submitting, being selected. So that is something to celebrate. But we definitely want to also temper our excitement and sharing as much to the public, because we definitely don't want to lead them into, thinking that funding was secured when we're not quite there yet. There is still a few steps, hurdles ahead for us to focus right now, and continuing engagement with the offices, which we will, and straighten the applications. We'll continue to be competitive as possible. When we can engage, there are moments where we're asked to kind of sit back and relax and just and just wait, which is the hardest part of all this, is really waiting to hear back from them. But we will keep the staff up to date through every section as the preparation continues. And on the state side, at the state level, we continue monitoring the budget process, especially leading to the May revise. We're continuing the engagement with Assembly Member Wallace's office regarding the potential budget request strategy. And we are scheduling follow-up meetings and looking for opportunities to bring legislators to the district so that they can visit and see, the project that you're referring to, and also know the district a little bit more. We did reach out to the district's offices for the upcoming tour that you're hosting next week. And thank you for this opportunity. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Jasmine. Any board members have any questions or comments? Director Droster?
I'm just trying to find your note. Yeah, under this, I might suggest that you put page numbers on these pages.
Oh,
okay. It would help keep track them straight. But my question's on the state advocacy update page. The one of the first ones that you talked about. It said the state funding Prop 4 opportunities were expected to be more competitive. Does that mean that they were not competitive? I'm not quite sure what you meant by that statement.
So they're going to be more competitive on the state funding opportunities aside from the Prop 4 program, because everybody has been very anticipating these funds that are coming in. So everybody's watching for it to be available, and it's going to take a few steps. So that process was always going to be competitive. What I was referring to is the fact that there's not that much funding within the state itself, with bills and then having the deficit. So that is the where I say it's more competitive than usual in the last few years. Well, it's been like that probably in the last couple of years.
That word should have been "are" instead of "were" in that sentence.
Okay, but you're actually talking about the funding opportunities rather than the groups that are seeking it. I thought you meant more competitive by the numbers of organizations that are seeking it.
I don't think I can talk on how many are going to be actually seeking on that. Yeah.
Okay. I just didn't understand what you meant by that.
Okay.
And I just realized I have on the previous paragraph or bullet item, under the governor released the budget in January, proposed budget.
Yeah.
Administration balanced the budget for 26-27 while projecting future pressure. What do you mean by pressure? What is the pressure you're talking about?
So the budget that's released in January, it doesn't have all the initial information. So the future pressure is once they receive all the information and what the governor would like to see happen in the budget may not actually come to light. So, I mean, the pressure is trying to keep that budget as close as possible, but once all the everything comes in through all the different agencies, it might not really come. It might, like, with the way he presented it at the beginning of the year was a much smaller deficit. So, but when we speak to other agencies, they're like, I don't see how he had that such a slow deficit. So keeping that small deficit was definitely going to be a pressure point for him. So it's interesting to see what's going to come back in May.
Okay, the pressure is coming from what? From attacking the budget amounts, not really understanding what kind of issues there will be.
Well, we've been battling a deficit for a while, but there was I wish I wrote down, I don't know the exact number, but when he came out in January, it was a much smaller deficit than we expected. And by that, I was referring to like the future pressure of really try to keep that a realistic number in May. I really don't foresee having that low deficit, and then that goes into following it up with funding being available for other projects within the district. When you see a small deficit, you think, oh, there's going to be funding available for more projects, but I mean, we're not really looking at that as going to be the case.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all that I really wanted to ask about. Could there be, I don't know, is the staff going to report on this also, on the visits? Because I was wondering if there could be a little more talk about the briefings with Schiff and Padilla.
We've already reported everything, and the newsletter that was just published has a 2-page article about all of it.
Oh, okay. Also, I wondered if you were aware that there was oh, never mind, different topic for later. Sorry, just had a blip.
No worries.
Okay, I'm good.
Any other directors?
Well, I'd just like to say that I am extremely comfortable with having these people working for us, this Rojas group. And we spent a lot of time with them in Washington. And I'm very pleased that the board approved the funding to have advocacy in Sacramento and in Washington. And these are great people. They're sharp sticks. I like them.
Thank you.
Director Fick?
Yeah, well, me and President Doolittle were the Sacramento contingent of the board, and things from what I could see went very smoothly. And so I'm relatively impressed. And David Carrillo shared the seats. Me and him were pretty much bookends, but we were there and we took it all. But the main speakers were the president and the general manager.
Yeah, we were told we were beefcake. Sarah was going to do all the talking.
Oh,
No, they definitely brought the perspective of the community to the meetings, which were very important and beneficial.
All right, President Doolittle here. So I have a question, it's regarding the federal funds. So this year, is Congress spending, or is the state spending, either one, infrastructure funds or big beautiful bill funds? Because I'd heard that there was a pool of money that they had to spend, and I thought it was maybe the infrastructure bill left over from Biden, but I think it may be the big beautiful bill monies that were given for, maybe they're going to fund Prop 4, but I thought that there were some other things. I don't know.
I think those are two different things. I can double check for you, but the appropriations are under a different funding source.
Okay, so it wouldn't be then it wouldn't be the infrastructure stuff. It would be it's big beautiful bill monies that the state would be getting that we may be having access to.
So Prop 4 is actually a bill that was signed on 2 years ago. So that was way before that funding. So that funding, what's the lane that has been the process that the agencies now have to go through for people, for agencies to apply. So the different, water agencies, the park agencies, they now have to do a little bit more for all the different, agencies to be able to apply for that funding. So, but and that those are certain preparations that they didn't have to do for grants. So that is why it's taking a long time for them to roll that out. And there's actually a current bill that is being discussed to kind of bypass that. I don't know how far that bill is going to go this year, but there's a lot of people supporting it to try, because of the holdup of the funding coming out.
Thank you, Jasmine, for explaining that. Sometimes when I start talking about finances and things like that, I end up twisting in the wind a little bit and I don't have my footing, but I have a little bit of footing now. And so what I was understanding was that Padilla, our congressman, that they have money that they are able to spend due to, I thought it was the big, beautiful bill, and that there's chunks of money available that they're spending right now. So that's what I was asking.
Oh, when it comes to the appropriations, the congressman is able to submit, I believe, 25 projects within their district. And then, every congressperson in the United States will be selecting them. Then they go into the committees, and then the committees will then even, make that list even smaller, and then reevaluate the amount that the congress member selected. So it's not that they, like, all their bills, that all their projects that they selected are going to be funded, because it would have to go to the appropriations committees to then make it out to the final list that will be then put into each of that that then will be possibly put into the bill.
So, and when you're talking about the 25, it was my understanding that those are CPF funds. Is that what those are?
Correct.
Right. So I understood that. And that's actually where the money came for the study for the septic to sewer was CPF funds from Congressman Obernolte. So I heard you when you say the money would be delivered if we were lucky to have it. And our general manager is not doing one even tiny bit of celebration until we have the money. And you said it's December, and I remember last year that there was a government shutdown, and then the money wasn't allocated or given to people until. So let's hope that there's no government shutdown.
Right. So that was 2 years ago. This past year they did it. I mean, they both had government shutdowns back to back. And we're hoping that doesn't happen again, but it was signed into law and late. And yeah, it takes a while. So just to, once it gets signed into law, then there definitely could be celebration. But even when that gets signed into law, you probably won't see the funding come through around till like summer or late summer of next year. But that's when you can get the big check and do a celebration and invite the congressman over.
This concludes board discussion of the advocacy report. Is there a motion to receive and file the attached report? Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And moving on to item 7C, which is familiar to us from past board meeting discussions, a new emergency generator and automatic transfer switch for the district office. General Manager Sarah Johnson.
Okay, it's an example of something normally our director of ops would present, and I'm going to give it a go. So this admin building is our headquarters, and it serves also as our emergency operations center for the events of a catastrophic event or main line break or whatnot. And we have a generator just outside of the office here to the west. It's very old and it needs to be replaced. It's in the budget. The work has been done by Ray Polish and Kyle McCarty to solicit different proposals on different generators, and the one in your packet for the $88,050 was the one from Quinn Power Systems proposal. And that one will solve the issues that I know that VP Short and Director Sloan had witnessed in person when we had our manager meetups, and the power went out and the transfer switch didn't work and the generator didn't start, and we sat in here in the almost dark. It was kind of a cloudy day, finishing out our meeting, but just demonstrates the importance of us having, you know, a generator that actually works and that we can power this building at our headquarters. Everything else is as written in the report. I'm happy to take any questions.
Director Short.
Okay, so I was going through this and I noticed, I don't know if this is a typo on the quotation or not, but on the transfer switch down here, it says that it's single phase power when the generator is 3-phase, and then on back over here on page 54, it again says it's the transfer switch is a 3-phase. So I want to make sure that that this is either a typo or we are using a 3-phase, because we would require extra equipment to do that if it was.
Understood. We'll get that corrected. Yeah. No, Kyle, we are you on the line? Is it back up? We should promote him. Thank you. One moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have another question for that too.
Oh, okay.
Kyle McCarty is from West Coast Civil, and Kyle, you have the ability to speak now. Is he muted?
We can't hear you and you're not muted.
And we want to hear you, Kyle.
We want to hear that.
Come on, Kyle.
Looks like he's working on it.
Well, while Kyle's figuring that out, if you want to move on to come back to.
Oh, yeah.
So I did check the budget, and this was budgeted at 75,000, putting it at 13,050 over the budget for that. I wanted to know if we were where we would move the money from to cover that.
Go over 2 fiscal years, so we'll rebudget the difference
Okay.
in the next fiscal year budget.
Okay. It's gonna be all for
And
me.
Kyle said there is a typo in.
Okay, good.
Good catch.
Yes.
Yeah. Set your phasers to stun. Okay. Okay, Director Joswick?
Just a quick thing. Where does this sit when it's waiting to be used?
Well, it's, when you come in the building on the side door,
Mhm.
you probably notice the shed over there, right in front of the shed is the current generator.
Okay, that's what I'm
Right
wondering.
where-
It's gonna be there. Okay,
Same footprint.
okay. Just curious.
And we had contractors perform site visits to ensure that it would install their cover issues.
Director Fripp?
What fuel is this? Is this gasoline or diesel?
That's a good question, and I have a guess, but I'm gonna see if Kyle sends me a message here.
I would
My guess
imagine
is
diesel.
diesel.
Yeah, it's diesel.
Yes.
Director Florin, did you have something?
Yes, is there gonna be some sort of a structure over this thing? It looks a little bit bare bones, so to speak, when you look at it in the
Or
photograph.
exposed?
No, it's the same as our current existing one, you know, they're open air.
Okay, so that's not an issue because they're built to be open air. And the position of that is gonna stay the same also?
My understanding footprint will be just the same. You won't hardly even notice it because it's in a fenced in area that has privacy fencing, so you won't see it. You'll hear it in some offices, hopefully not as loud, but we're not.
Director
Yeah,
Joswick?
I was gonna ask about the sound because I know some neighbors have complained about lights and sound coming from here.
Well, we don't run it often. It's only for emergencies. And then, of course, you know, monthly it has to be started and tested, but it's, you know, it'd only be an emergency situation or when, you know, when the power's down.
And then they might be happy to hear it.
Well, the water's still running. They're working.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, members of the board, is there a motion to direct the general manager to execute an agreement with Quinn Power Systems in the amount of $50 for procurement and installation of a new emergency generator and automatic transfer switch for the district office.
I'll move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
A roll call vote, please. General Manager Johnson?
Director Doolittle?
Yes.
Director Flynn?
Yes.
Director Fed?
Yes.
Director Bradford?
Yes.
VP Short.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously.
Yeah, thank you, Val, for trying. Oh, no.
Oh, it works now?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Oh, all right. Item 7B is a discussion of supplemental earthquake insurance. The staff recommended action is for the board to consider, discuss, and if deemed appropriate, provide direction to the general manager to enter into an agreement for this insurance. Director of Finance, Ann Roman, please proceed.
Thank you again. Yes, so we have an interesting topic today. We haven't talked about this previously during my time here. I'm going to share my screen and I have a little presentation. This could get a bit confusing, so I thought a presentation would be worthwhile. There we go. So currently, our current status is that JBWD has limited earthquake insurance through Aqua JPIA, which is our insurance provider. We have 2.5 million shared among all claiming members in any earthquake event, with new mandatory parametric coverage. And that parametric coverage is $10 million shared, again, among all claiming members. A proposed supplemental policy, which is what we want to talk about tonight, would increase total coverage about $24.5 million, and that's an individual policy not shared among claiming members. This would cost us roughly $90,000 annually in addition to what we currently pay for our insurance. So this is costly, obviously, but it does provide protection against low probability impact losses amid uncertainty with disaster aid and limited reserve capacity. I will stop there to just put in my disclaimer. First of all, I'm not an insurance expert, and I'm not an expert in earthquake probabilities. So I've gone out to get some additional resources here for some of that information. But this particular policy is uses fiscally strong but not admitted insurers, which means that in California does not protect against insolvency. However, that seems to be a common situation for these type of excess/surplus carriers. And proceeding here today depends on the district's risk tolerance, the board's risk tolerance, and staff recommends authorizing the general manager to bind coverage not to exceed $90,000. So $90,000 initially. Of course, this is subject to over time CPI increases or COLA increases, as all our policies are. But initially, this would cost us $90,000 and add about $24.5 million in coverage. We currently pay about $185,000 per year, excluding workers' compensation insurance. And this particular supplement would cover the 17 reservoirs, the office building, and the shop buildings and the contents thereof. Our basic and parametric insurance would cover all the scheduled assets, which we'll get into a little more detail about that. But that excludes main lines. Main lines are not a scheduled asset, except within 1,000 feet from a scheduled asset. Risk. So risk insurance is generally considered to be a risk transfer tool. And so this really comes back to the district's risk tolerance. As far as reserves go, we do have emergency reserves of about $3 million that we have set aside. However, with Chromium 6 coming upon us, we may need to dip into some of that funding and not have that available in case of an emergency. So insurance would provide a balance of having reserves in the bank and having this other source of funding, especially when outside assistance like FEMA or Cal OES may not be available. All right, so this is, it could be a little bit confusing, so I just put this into oh, there we go, it's a little delay. Put this into a little pyramid for us to look at. But first I'll mention that the district has approximately $63 million in capital assets. That's based on original undepreciated cost. Of these, about $32.5 million have scheduled property insurance through Aqua JPIA, including about $4 million in vehicles and mobile equipment. Vehicles and mobile equipment have separate earthquake coverage up to $5 million per occurrence, shared among claiming members for $10 million. Approximately 28.6 million in main lines are not insured except within 1,000 feet of scheduled assets. It is not common for Aqua JPIA to insure main lines. We would have to, if we desired that type of coverage, we would have to get a supplemental policy for that. Those have never been insured to my knowledge. And remaining assets are comprised of the recharge facilities where there's really not a lot to insure, and wells, which like main lines are not typically insured by these basic risk pool policies. A note to make is that JPIA next year will be, probably next fiscal year, I should say, will be beginning appraisals of our assets. And that's really important because a lot of these assets were put on the policy years ago. And in most cases, we don't have replacement cost coverage. We have original cost coverage. They do apply a small escalator every year, but for example, the building, I believe, is valued at $1.7 million on the policy, and I'm sure it would cost more than that to replace the building. That is a separate concern, but going back to the supplemental earthquake insurance, if we look at the bottom of the pyramid, number one, the basic level is the 2.5 million that we already have included in our coverage, and that's shared among all claiming members with a deductible of 5% or 75,000, whichever is greater. The new parametric insurance, which was rolled out just in April, adds $10 million, also shared among claiming members, and that's included in our annual cost, and it has a $0 deductible. The supplemental insurance at level 3 is would add about $24.5 million for the 17 reservoirs, the office, and the shop building. And this is an individual policy, which is important because we don't have to share that coverage with all of the other claiming members. And at the very top, I just mentioned again that we have limited mainline insurance, and if we desire to add that, we would have to go out for a supplemental policy there. All right, so I did turn to artificial intelligence to get a little more information about earthquake risk and how it would evaluate the return on investment for the cost of this policy. So what I learned is that earthquake risk analysis is inherently complex. I knew that due to the low frequency, high severity nature of events. Using regional seismic data for Joshua Tree, the reasonable planning assumptions basically say that, if I just break it down to the bottom line, this puts us at about 50% return on investment. And that's actually relatively good. While actual outcomes will vary on event severity and asset impacts, the coverage seems to indicate it would be financially meaningful and protective against catastrophic losses. Okay, So here we have a couple of other points that I wanted to mention. This policy cites 3 well-rated carriers. It is vetted by Aqua JPIA's broker team, which I believe is called Aon, A-O-N. And as I mentioned earlier, it is provided by a non-admitted insurer, which is not subject to California Guarantee Fund protections against insolvency, but that's a common thing for this type of coverage. And all claims would be handled through Aqua JPIA. My first concern was the policy document lists 3 different issuing companies. And so I didn't think it was practical to have to deal with potentially 3 different companies, but Aqua JPIA would be our contact for any claims. And the timing here, policy would go into effect between today and May 1st. And that would very closely align to our annual property insurance policy. All right, and then just finally, the recommendation here is to authorize, of course, discuss, contemplate, but ultimately staff's recommendation is to authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement for supplemental earthquake insurance coverage. And I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have.
And Ms. President Doolittle, before we get started, I attended a presentation about this and was excited because I'm nerdy and came back and talked to you guys about it. But I just kind of want to remind you of a couple of things that I understood that maybe Director Roman understands differently now. So parametric doesn't mean the broken item. That's the property insurance, right? It means the size of the earthquake itself. That's what the parametric means. And the payout is not dependent on the physical damage, but on the event shaking numbers from USGS. And so all of the people in our particular group are in a cell. And so the cells get paid out the money based upon the shaking. One advantage of this is the speed of the payment. And there's the broadness of coverage. There's no exclusions, re-expenses, and loss. It's far broader coverage. And it's coverage that triggers based upon the amount of shaking from an earthquake. There was a lot on it, but in the presentation. But and it was a presenter from Aon, one of the companies she mentioned. From 1906 to 2025, they would have paid out 36 payments. And the guy said, I can't even name 36 earthquakes. So I thought that was an interesting, but he said each grid cell gets 0.5% of its coverage. And then there was a discussion, problems found later, like cracked wells. So that's, something to be considered. And I think traditional coverage doesn't cover anything in the ground, mainly buildings. This is way more coverage for those additional assets in the ground. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. So anybody, any questions? Director Short, Vice President Short.
What are we defining as claiming members?
So all of the Aqua JPIA pool, we're in a risk pool. And so within that risk pool, all of the members that file a claim for that event.
And there's,
if there were a major earthquake and everyone in Southern California filed a claim, I don't know. I think there's 292 or about 300-ish members in the risk pool.
So over, like with the 10 million share though, like how much of that would we get if there was like a big earthquake? So we're all dipping into that 10 million, correct?
Right. So for the parametric, you mean?
Yeah.
The parametric really works differently. It President Doolittle was saying, it is based on the shaking, and then there's a grid. In the fact sheet that we received, it said an earthquake of magnitude 5.5 or greater with ground shaking above a defined threshold. And then there's a grid, they section it out and you get a certain percentage. But I think the advantage to that is that we would not have to prove that we had any damage. We just would automatically, if we fell within that grid, we would receive whatever that percentage was. And it's intended to get funds to the affected members quickly instead of traditional insurance, which can take much longer to pay out.
And with this being unbudgeted, where are we going to get that money from?
It's just going to come out of the general fund.
Okay.
And it'll be included in the revision of the budget
It will be, yes.
if it proceeds.
Okay, that's all for me.
Director Jarlsberg?
On its face, it looks like a good idea. Mainly because of the quickness of getting reimbursed or getting, our portion. But I was curious if 1992 was pretty drastic, and I wondered how much damage was done here. If there's any way to because I'm hoping there will never be a bigger one than that one. I mean, that was big enough.
Yeah.
And so I was curious if it were like the one that happened in 1992.
Bigger,
This is why
bigger.
I wish Susan was around because she remembers this stuff, but I remember her sharing there were 3 reservoirs that were impacted, multiple pipes, and do you remember the number?
I don't. And
$1 million.
$1 million is what I remember, but I don't.
That was 92.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, I got that. But I just was thinking about the kinds of things that were damaged. And
It's a new pipeline. It's going to be, reservoirs. Not all the reservoirs are equipped with earthquake valves. Not all of them are bolted, so there's, different considerations.
well,
And of course,
are there
buildings.
requirements to do that kind of thing before we get the insurance?
No, no.
Oh, okay.
I should mention, though, I didn't, I failed to mention that we did speak with interim director of operations, Ray Kolish, about the assets to include in this policy. And we did select the 2 buildings, the office and shop building and the 17 reservoirs as the sites that we believed would be the most likely to be vulnerable.
Right. Okay, and yeah, we are going to be looking at another budget very soon, so we can consider using it.
Well, if it's approved tonight, then it would be included in the revision of this
Yeah.
fiscal year's budget.
Yeah. Okay.
Director Fick?
Yeah, the risk pool you're talking about, you're saying roughly 200, something like that?
I think the number that sticks in my head is 292, but somewhere around there, 292,
Is this-
300.
Okay, these are water districts.
They are agencies, public agencies. I'm not sure that they're all water districts. Do you know that, sir?
I don't know for sure. I think a majority. I don't know if they're not all. No.
Does this include pretty much all of urban Southern California?
Over California.
What, the earthquake?
Yeah, they're
Oh,
headquarters.
the pool, the pool.
Yeah, the pool is statewide.
Yeah.
It's statewide.
Correct.
So it's all,
It's
pretty much all the agencies that,
all the agencies. Yeah.
Well, not all. There's a couple of just pools out there. Aqua GPIA is one of the main players. SDRMA is another player in the same arena. And I think there's a third. I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but there's not very many.
my concern would be being that we're a district with 5,800 hookups and there's urban centers that the money would go a lot further with a lot more voters or whatever you want to call these residents that would be affected by it if we get a big major earthquake. And
If we
then,
continue with the same plan we have now, the parametric, right, then we would be sharing. But this supplementary one is individual. Yeah.
and it's coordinated. We no longer do the Richter scale. So the old Landers was a 7.6 on the Richter scale. And if I remember right now, on the new scale, it's 7.3. And so this 5.5, most of what I've seen Ruckus seen about in the last 2 decades has been under 5, easily under 5. But then again, we're talking a major earthquake. So
Right.
And this is something General Manager and I talked about. We don't necessarily have to continue this forever. I think right now, while we're looking at drawing down our reserves potentially for Chromium 6, until we know that we're in a better position, to put aside some additional funds, it might be at that point a good opportunity to reevaluate whether it still makes sense. But as we draw down those reserves, I think that it's a nice balance between having money in the bank and having this protection.
I had
Director Dawes?
a little follow-up. I was just thinking about our customers that would be affected by the earthquake potential. And I would guess there aren't too many that have earthquake insurance, including me. I've obviously thought about it, but it seems to me 90,000 seems very reasonable considering what a household would pay, which can be a big number too. But would this insurance cover getting water to the customers?
Well, it would cover getting us back up and running so that we can get water to the customer.
I'm thinking broken pipes. That go
Not
out.
on the customer side, no.
No, not on the customer side, but getting to the customer.
So the main lines are only insured within 1,000 feet of any scheduled asset. And so this policy is only going to cover the reservoirs and the
That's what I heard.
shop
Yeah,
building.
that's what I heard. That's why I asked the question.
Right, so the rest of the pipeline would not be covered. It's not covered under the basic policy as well.
So it seems to me that customers should know this. You know, that we're gonna do our best if we do take the insurance, but it doesn't guarantee the water will get to their house.
Right, I mean, there certainly would be a lot of factors involved in getting things going again.
Well, I think
Major earthquake.
consumers need to start thinking about it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kathleen promotes this all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
yeah.
See,
She bangs that drum.
We're gonna do our very best to get things back up and running, but we also have to make sure the
Yeah.
water's safe.
Yeah.
Because when you have main line breaks and the water stops running, then we have to do all sorts of activities after you get it back up and running again, flushing and chlorination and whatnot to make sure it's safe. Has to go through sampling, et cetera, so it takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Consultant Kathleen Radnich?
I would just like to throw into your consideration pool here. There was a recent presentation it was on the Cascadia Fault Zone. And in that, when I was watching it, they made this declaration that they have discovered that if Northern Cal were to go, they have now realized it can trigger Southern California. So the whole state under JPIA may be saying, oh, just letting you know, they have come out and determined that. Now, we knew that from the Landers quake because they observed the quake vibrations going through volcanoes and everything all the way up to Northern Cal. I don't know if it's taken 30 years for them to figure this out, but they came out with this presentation. I don't have it. I can't give it to you to back up what I'm saying, but I found it so now I watch everything. What's happening in Northern Cal, what's happening in Southern, but they said if it happens in Southern Cal, it can move up. If it's happening in Northern Cal, it can move down because San Andreas is a little
Right.
thing. So it isn't just our area or metropolitan LA. Within a day or two, it could be the whole state. So I'm just letting you know that came out as a data point.
Director Flynn?
Yeah, some of this, there's aspects of it that I'm skeptical about, and that is, one of them is there's this legend out there that if you file a claim against your insurance company, your succeeding premiums skyrocket because the insurance companies want the money back. I don't know how true that is, but I think it's true. But that doesn't mean you can't cancel, I assume. Another thing that concerns me is that JPIA wants to file a claim in our behalf, and this Vitco or whatever it is, they say, well, we're waiting on FEMA for a decision on whether or not they're going to cover it. And then FEMA says, no, you already got insurance from that other guy, so we're not going to pay it. Part two to that is that FEMA is pretty unstable these days.
Mm-hmm.
And it can take years to get compensated on a claim. And it seems to me Kathleen is nodding her head over there, so I do have some support on this. And so to have something in our back pocket like this $90,000 deal that you want us to do, that it sounds like a good safety device. Because we can't remember, we don't deliver donuts here. We're talking about life and death with this water, and we have to get our stuff going again. Thank you very much, Michael, for doing that, by the way. And so, that this is, I think, best possible, that kind of thing. Now, are we still doing water for emergencies this month?
May.
That's May. Well,
April, yes, it's all April out there, but the Help Yourself, Help Your Neighbor emergency response for disasters, they moved it to May 8th because of the inclement weather.
Yeah.
So here again, we do it April, then you've got this event that we promote, we're there, that's in May. We do this in September, and because it's National Emergency Preparedness Month. Then they have the great shakeout in October. We're there, we're promoting water for emergency, and wherever else we can tie it in. In fact, with our tours, the sheet that tells you how to prepare for water emergency before they attack it. We can beat that drum. People have to take the initiative, but I will tell you, when our water line went down, General Manager Johnson and I encountered many people who just were aghast that they had to consider where to get water instead of out of their tap. I mean, they were almost uncivil, I'll use that word. They were uncivil about it. And back then, in this room where our incident command center was, we had people who were so abusive. And Assistant General Manager Greer was here. I could hear her roll her eyes, biting her tongue when people came in and accused us that it is our obligation to make sure they have water now. I mean, it was ugly. And I don't wish that on any of you. Board members, stay away from the Incident Command Center. It's pretty nasty. But these people don't prepare no matter how much we tell them. But what we need is just a few little earthquakes, and then you start getting nervous and they go unprepared. So that's what I'm.
We don't need any earthquakes.
is it May 8 or May 9?
Just gotta keep,
Okay.
9.
giving the message over and over.
Over and over.
Yeah.
So, Citizens Advisory Council Chair David Correa, do you have something?
Yes, and I think that would be the 9th. That's a Saturday, correct?
I think it was May 8th, or whatever, it's a Saturday, it's a Saturday to me.
We think it's the 9th.
Okay, the 9th.
So let's clarify that. We're going to have a booth in front of the Walmart on that date, it's a Saturday, as well as our normal booth.
Yeah.
We're going to divide forces. And David Carrillo is going to do his part to try and cover both. He'll probably lean more towards being at the market. Possibly we're going to have Tom Short there too, Thomas Short. And Jane said that she would possibly breeze by too. So we're going to.
I feel like we're getting a little bit off topic. Maybe this could be saved for the director's comments.
Well, I won't make any then.
Okay, I just wanted to flag that.
We want to promote this stuff as much as possible.
Well, absolutely. I'm not saying that, but I thought we might be getting a little bit off the agenda.
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, well, so, yeah.
Thank you, President Doolittle. I do think it's important. It is a little costly, but we're in the water business, and if we're not running, nobody else is out there. So I really think it's important that we consider this. We have to protect the people that can't protect themselves. And if we can get the water running for them and get our infrastructure going, it's better for them. And it seems like the thing that we really need to do. So thank you for listening.
So I think that this conversation tells me that I think we want to talk about this further at some point, like, how the district really is prepared as a board. And I myself think that this is a good idea, and it's has a lot of foresight of the district to consider doing this. And so we'll have the mandatory required parametric coverage with JPIA, which I'm happy about. And then we'll have some supplemental additional earthquake coverage. And I think that that's very wise indeed, especially thinking about what the future might hold. So concluding board discussion, is there a motion to direct General Manager Johnson to enter into an agreement for this supplemental earthquake insurance?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
Second,
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Roll call vote, please.
President Little.
Yes.
Director Flowin,
yes.
Director Fick,
Yes.
Director Charlesberg,
Yes.
VP.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Continuing with our meeting, item 8 on the action calendar is director reports and comments. This time is reserved for director reports and comments on matters within the district's jurisdiction for informational purposes only on subjects not covered by the agenda. Please note that the opinions expressed by individual directors do not necessarily reflect those of the board as a whole or district staff, and no immediate action shall be taken. The chair requests that directors' comments are solely focused to matters within the district's jurisdiction. Vice President Short?
Oh, yes. Ready. All right, I wanted to say that I thought the board and staff did a great job with the sewer meeting last time around. And I am incredibly proud of the community for showing up. Sorry I couldn't have been there in person, but I was able to watch via Zoom. And I have to say that I was not very impressed with the county and how they handled this situation. When we have to submit questions ahead of time and they still cannot answer a simple question such as, where did this start from? That is not transparency. That is a willful refusal to address concerns from the community. I look forward to our next opportunity to speak with them on this matter. I also wanted to thank the staff and Rojas for their work in getting the earmark approved for the federal government to help with the chromium issue. This is a big deal, and I'm proud of everyone in this room for the work that they did to getting these funds. This was not easy, and we took calculated risks. This is real commitment to the public good and a group of determined people with a shared goal in mind. So I just want to say thank you to everybody that assisted in that. That's all for me.
Director Flowin? I'm sorry. Do you have any comments?
I just want to say that the difference between a category 4, or not category 4, but an earthquake that's a Richter scale 4 would be 10 times as strong as a 3, and a 5 would be 10 times as strong as a 4. Every time that number goes up, it's 10 times stronger. I know it's not used anymore by the science people and stuff like that, but you still hear about it in the news. That's all.
I didn't know that, and I never want you to be quiet. Director Charlesberg?
Yeah, I too was unable to attend the meeting on April 1st, but I observed, and I was impressed with our people for sure. And it's only obviously the beginning of the discussion, even though I kind of regretted not being there in person. I know it's not over yet, so I appreciate all the work that all of you board members did. I did want to mention that there's an article in today's paper that is a follow-up to the meeting. There was they did have a report in the paper about the meeting on April 1st, but today's paper has a follow-up. And it was pretty technical. I mean, it's I hope people read it. I wondered if anybody needed a copy of the article here that I could give to. I meant to bring the paper today and didn't, but I can take a picture of it or figure it out. The other thing is on the list of future events that we're attending. I wanted to mention that I'm planning to go to the CSDA conference on May 11th, and it was not on the list. I hope that was just because I'm leaving after the workshop at 9:00, but it's on May 11th through 13 in San Diego.
That will actually be on the agenda.
And that's what I thought, but I just want to make sure. Okay. And that's all I got.
All right, Director Fick?
Yeah, several things. One is on the sewer, septic to sewer meeting that happened. I do want to have a clarification as to the policy. This doesn't have to be rated in here because we can just almost react to it. Policy of communicating with the special district, the head of the special district, because I have things to say to him or write to him regarding that. I had a good rapport with him because before he was working with the county in 2021, he was Public Works in Montclair, California, and we have a connection with that situation. But I was also wanting to instruct and educate him on my earned cynicism towards the county's supervisors in their meetings and the abrupt decision-making they have, which concerns me because if they go into being the sewer authority, they would also do abrupt decision-making like they have in the past 5 or 6 years. And I want to be able to show him why I have this cynicism towards it. So I just want to have that policy. I would, CC anything to the general manager regarding it.
Question. So I'd like to bring Jeff into that conversation. If the board is discussing concerns with the county regarding the sewer, how should that be handled if they're doing it as an individual or as a board member or as a whole? What's the best course of action?
I mean, obviously individual communications are fine. If you start involving a majority of the board, then you do start having Brown Act implications. So I think you want to, if it's an ad hoc committee that's just formed for this purpose, you don't have to comply with the Brown Act. Individual is fine. If you get to majority or larger, then we'd have to look at scheduling how we would schedule that or notice meetings or joint meetings between the two if it became to that.
And should the messaging be approved by the whole board before it goes to the sewer, or how does that work?
I mean, that's really at the discretion of the agency. If the board wants to control that messaging, then I think you'd want to bring it back to the board. If it's delegated authority to the general manager, then I don't think you have to do that. Likewise, if it's delegated to an ad hoc committee, I think it really is a decision for the board to make in terms of how much it wants to control that messaging.
Thank you.
Can I add to that? I would intend to be as an individual, and it was just observations. I'm not telling him to think about things, but I'm telling him these are my observations on how the county decision makers made their decision, which in most cases is very abrupt and incomplete in absorbing public input. And I have many instances of that situation.
And there's nothing that prohibits you as an individual of reaching out and having those discussions. But if you're wanting to do something more formally as board, then I think there's some ways that we can do that.
Okay, that's too much work for me. So, and then also, I haven't been following what all our PR person does, but I think it's going to be important that our ratepayers know how to handle a septic tank, as far as being a consumer and treating the tanks properly and not putting bad things in it and all that kind of stuff, because that's obviously a topic for the next 5 or 6 years minimum.
I'm sure we can do a septic tank article.
We do it every October, big time, and then possibly touch on it and give out sewer brochures in June. We do protecting our aquifer, and so we do have the brochures at the booth for that. I have often added something in the newsletter, but in October we do talk about a lot of things like medications, not putting them down, how to properly mix them with coffee. I mean that's all been at our booth. Always October, and then June is protecting our aquifer. Kind of groups where I see, but I always have the brochures.
Yeah.
Well, I always have how to take care of your septic tank.
That's going to be a hot topic for at least a decade. So thank you.
All right, President Doolittle here, and my apologies for being abrupt. I always value Director Flowen's words, and I'm believing underscoring the emergency message. Good. I was just worried we were getting off track of the agenda.
Well, we were.
All right. Okay.
I agree with you.
Okay, all right, thank you. I wanted to say thanks to our public commenter, Dennis, for his complimentary words. And I want to say, you guys say, good on you, Glenn. And I don't think we hear enough good and about what the district does, and these folks do a lot of good. And when I wrote that, I said, I sound just like Director Flowen, and these folks do a lot of good. But I certainly believe that. I myself personally make a big effort when I'm out and working with companies and things like that, that I almost all the time, I tell them at Walmart that somebody's done a good job when I'm shopping there. Okay, so I recently attended the TAC, which is the Technical Advisory Committee of the Mojave Water Agency, which is a wholesaler of recharge water to JBWD. We often don't explain these acronyms, so. The meeting was mainly a discussion of the dissolution of the Morongo Basin Pipeline. Most of it was repetitive with details we already heard from our general manager. It was announced, and as the board has heard, our already overly busy general manager will be leading the new group. I believe our GM, as she has already done at JBWD, will demonstrate and set a high standard of leadership that will continue after she leaves the role in 1 year's time. I'm underscoring that part, as I don't want anyone to convince her to stay longer than that, as she has more than enough to do with the reduced headcount here at the district. At our last JBWD board meeting, we had a robust dialogue with our community in the Special Districts Division of the County of San Bernardino about a proposed sewer. And I appreciate the comments of my fellow board members about that. I think one thing that came through was a real desire from the community to have trust in the county, to have trust in a public agency. They want that. And there seems to be a real fear based upon past experiences that they're not going to have that trust. That trust is going to be violated. Public trust is not automatic. It's something earned through transparency and accountability. So the community is looking for transparency and accountability from the county as it starts this study regarding a septic sewer project in Joshua Tree. And I wonder how the district can help. I had been thinking about the ad hoc. I didn't want to bring it up tonight, but I'm also hoping there's a way for Joshua Basin's communications and dealings with the county on this project to have even greater visibility and transparency to the board and the community. I'm considering what this best way is to address this, and I'm also looking for guidance on how the board can become more sophisticated more quickly, faster, about what options are before the county and the impacts of those options on the district. I myself have been doing a little research, and there's a CSD and there's a CSA and there's all these sorts of different permutations. And then it turns out in the California Water Code, the county actually does have a right to potentially just do a sewer. And so I've been trying to figure this out, like who has to vote? There's all these questions, and it's created a lot of turmoil for me as a board member. And so I'm going to ask the district, we have to figure out a way. I don't know if, if we want to save money and I should go to Aqua and ask for some assistance and understanding things as we already pay them. Lastly, my focus as a board member lately has been trying to widen my field of vision. I believe that it's obvious that the state is moving towards the economics of managing things regionally. We saw this in tonight's report detailing Prop 4 funding opportunities, which have a strong regional or statewide value. We see this with MWA and its now lead work on a regional urban water management plan, which the district used to do by itself. We also see this in a change in how the Morongo Basin Pipeline is managed, now by MWA with our stakeholders. There will now be more of a regional point of view looking into the basin from MWA, as opposed to these different water agencies looking out and towards MWA. I myself am trying to understand what is happening and what will be happening in the future, so as we can position our board and our aquifer into the strongest positions possible for the Joshua Tree community. Let's do this together. Let's figure this out. That's all for me. Thank you so much. Moving on to agenda item 9, which is the general manager's report. This is for informational purposes only. On subjects not covered by the agenda, no action is to be taken. General Manager Sarah Johnson.
Thank you. 12:15 is back online. And you may recall meetings ago, I let you know that we received a citation that was reduced to a violation on 12:15 for not being sampled for nitrates in calendar year 2025. From March until March of this year, March of last year to this year, the well was offline, not serving the public. And there was no motorhead and it was valved off the system. The state knew that and we had kept in check with them the whole time. And they reduced the citation to worse than a violation. They reduced the citation to a violation, understanding that we're in a situation that we can't even use the well anyway. Therefore, sampling can't be done. Sampling was done about a week before it was put back online to system, and it's come back lower nitrates than it was the previous year. So it just demonstrates that there was, no issue with that well and nobody was served. And so I'm now arguing back, kindly, of course, with the state to reduce the violation to nothing, because I don't agree that there should be any sort of violation because no water was served from that well. So it's a large process taking a lot of effort. And it does say that in the statute that it's water served. And Ann and I argued together that, wait a minute, that's a key word right there. If water is served, then there's a violation because the sample wasn't taken, but no water was served. The well was completely offline. So we're arguing that point and just want to keep you updated in that process. It's not an easy one, but we're up for the challenge. Well 15 is profiling is being completed this week. So that's kind of exciting because after all of the samples are sent in and we get results back, we'll find out if we have lower concentrations of chromium in that well at different depths. So that's coming up. Our interim director of ops, I believe, is less than 100 hours left on his 960, and we have 2.5 months left in this year. So it's a real challenge. There's a lot of work that's being shared amongst a lot of staff. And so just ask that you give us grace during this time. We've had some interviews, they've not been successful. We do have more interviews tomorrow for a supervisor position, which we didn't want to look at until we had a director of ops, but we're just going to have to plow forward while we have some applicants. So we'll see what happens there. I'll be bringing back a new contract for Ray in the coming probably end of May. If you remember, we did his original contract. It was for 18 months and that's coming up to an end. And we'd like to keep them on board, in the next fiscal year. May we'll have 3 board meetings, May 11th, May 18th, and the regular meeting on the 20th. The first meeting in May will be canceled on the 6th. And May 12th, there is, and it doesn't mean that you folks have to attend, but just for your information, if you remember, we had an inspection of the wastewater treatment facility at the hospital earlier this year. And from that inspection, it goes into a process where they build a new permit for the facility and they give us the permit to make comments on, and then they take it to the regional board for a final adoption, and that's on May 12th. We did receive that permit in its draft form, and there were some things in it that we need to submit some comments and feedback on. So we're working on that right now. One of those is which they changed the reporting cycle down and the sampling cycle to less because the facility is running so efficiently. So it used to be weekly sampling, it will now be monthly, and reporting will go from monthly to quarterly. So that's a testament to how well the facility is running. That said, they added a new stipulation within the permit that they want a monitoring well drilled at the site so they can see how that facility is impacting the aquifer. And they want it done in a timeline that's like the Chromium 6 timeline, quick. So as soon as they approve that permit, there's 12 months in which a study has to be commissioned by a geologist to find out where to put the well, et cetera. And then it goes to the regional board for adoption and approval, 1 to 3 months, then comes back to us, and then 6 months to drill a well, which is an unreasonable timeline. So we're going to push back on those timelines. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, we need to figure out who pays for this mandate, unfunded mandates that they're requiring us to do. Is it the hospital, or is it us? And so we have to figure out those details. So this was just thrown onto my plate this week, but it's another project that just popped up out of thin air. So we wrapped up our technical assistance with U.S. Water Alliance. That was a really good relationship that we had with them. And it was one of the harder contracts to have to say bye to because they've been super, super helpful. But if something comes up in the future, they said that they would be happy for us to send another application for assistance if it's available to bring them back into the loop. But I just wanted to thank, I know that I think President Doolittle and Director Fick was the one that did the introductions of their CEO. and brought that to our district, and they really were excellent to work with. So thank you for that. And then thank you for the work that everybody has done on this legislative advocacy. It is newer for our district, at least in this decade. It is a labyrinth. It's hard to navigate. It's been a lot of work. When we did get back from those trips, those portals were open, and not one portal is the same from another. Every legislator has them different. And it took a lot of effort to gather all of this documentation to get it into the portal and submit, and it was heard. So yes, the money's not here, so I'm not celebrating yet, but our voices are being heard. They know we exist now. And finally, last but not least, we got confirmation that Wallace Field Rep will be on the tour next week.
Oh,
And possibly Lackey, that one's still TBD, but we got confirmation on Wallace. That's the end.
you know what day?
21st.
Yeah,
You already signed up for it?
yeah, on the 20th.
There may not be any seats left. All right, next is item 10, agenda items requested by the board. Directors may request agenda items which will be reported on the future agenda items list located on the first page after the agenda. No action will be taken today on requested items. Just wanted to have a couple things I want to say. I encouraged General Manager Johnson to not make this such a long table with a lot of blank spaces because she's feeling a little pressure on putting things in place in spots. But when I look at this list, we have, the first 6 items are scheduled or already completed. 7, the board retreat workshop. We're going to pull this up, right? We're not going to do that. Yeah. Okay. She's raising her eyebrows. But I really don't want to wait until the late summer. It was my hope that we could do that before we even did the budget stuff. But anyway, and then the reason I'm kind of going through this a little bit, district to join JTABC. So if you see at the top of this, there's kind of a process about something getting on the agenda and then supporting materials must be submitted to the general manager the Wednesday preceding the board meeting. Well, if it goes that way, there's too much pressure on the district. So for example, item number 8, district to join that TABC, I've asked Director Fick to prepare a memo stating why he thinks this should be done, what the group is, and then he would submit that to the district. So the district would have that information in order to even create an agenda item report, because otherwise they're having to do all the digging, and he's the one that suggested it. So he's agreed to do that. And in the future, when we come up with these things, like the landscaping policy discussion, and that was based on, public comment, I'm going to have to do that and then as well. And the wastewater strategy that's a big one. But I just wanted to share with you the thoughts about how that will work better in the future. So anybody, anything?
Well, I want to ask about remind me which is mine, but I remember I had thoughts that I've never put down.
You have the board retreat workshop and then social media. And so I thought the social media stuff could go into that one. And you had PFAS concerns discussion.
Yeah, that's.
And that one, actually, I see that one isn't scheduled. So yeah.
And
but that's the one where
when did you, in relation to when it's could be proposed, when do you need
We
it?
have room on the agenda schedule, then I'll let you know 2 weeks in advance.
Oh,
But
okay.
I do want to comment on the PFAS one. We have done all of the testing on all of our wells, so we do not have any detect for PFAS. So I don't know that we need to have this discussion. It's still on the table. I'm just saying that we just recently completed all of the testing.
Yeah. Oh,
so I'd understood that it was going to be tested during the pilot testing for the chromium 6
We're
stuff.
still, we tested pre and we're going to test post.
Oh, okay. So you're referring to the pilot testing when you say no PFAS?
No, I'm
Okay.
referring to current. We're not pilot testing right now.
Okay, so when that happens, that's another data point.
But yes, we'll be collecting more data, but right now, there's no project.
All right, so is that satisfactory to you, Director Jarlsberg?
sounds like it.
Okay, all right, okay.
So should we remove that from?
Yeah,
the
let's
list?
do that,
Okay,
but
all right.
keep it in the back of our mind.
Sure, sir.
So, thank you, board members, visitors, and staff. With no further business before the board, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting in 1 hour and 44 minutes? Woo!
I'll make the motion. Second.
This meeting is concluded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
This meeting closes down at 6:45.